is confident, they will take responsibility for their... You're like a real-life Rambo.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 action comedy Die Hart. The film is directed by Eric Appel and it stars Kevin Hart, John Travolta, Nathalie Emmanuel, Jean Reno and Josh Hartnett. Now the film follows a fictionalized version of Kevin Hart playing himself. And he is fed up with being the comedy sidekick in movies. He wants to be a leading man. He wants to be an action star. So he holds out and he basically gets an offer to become like the next lead in a famous Hollywood action star producer. But he has to go to what is called an action star school. And this school is run by Ron Wilcox, played by John Travolta, who has got some unorthodox methods to turn Kevin Hart into an action star. Kevin Hart thinks there's something more sinister going on. He feels like he's actually trying to kill him, and that's where the comedy is generated from. Right. What are my thoughts on Die Hart? Well, the best I can figure that this film is either based on or cut from a TV series from 2020 of the same title. I think it was like 11 episodes. I never watched it. I didn't even know it existed, if I'm honest. Same premise, same cast. And the best I can figure, I think this movie has basically been put together from those 11 episodes, like edited into a movie. Which actually makes a bit of sense to me, because while I was watching this film, all I kept thinking was, this just doesn't flow. It doesn't feel right. It feels like a sketch that's been stretched out, you know, like a Saturday Night Live sketch or a sitcom that's been stretched. And that seems like that's exactly what it is. It's an interesting premise that's been, you know, edited into a movie that, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily work particularly well. And there's a lot of reasons why. Now, the first thing I want to say is I like Kevin Hart. I think he's talented. We've seen that he can act in things like Fatherhood and The Upside and things like that. He's clearly skilled as an actor. We know the guy can act, but people are more used to seeing him doing comedy in movies and things like that. And this film absolutely plays on that premise. So what I would say is, if you're a massive fan of Kevin Hart, then there are more than a few moments in this film that you will enjoy, because it's Kevin Hart being Kevin Hart. Beyond that, there's nothing new here from Kevin Hart. It's the same old tropes, you could say, really. Kevin Hartisms that we've seen time and time again. There's nothing here stretching him as an actor at all. And other than a handful of chuckles here and there, it's not particularly funny. Now, and then we've got John Travolta as Ron Wilcox. I'm not really sure what to make of John Travolta in this. I suppose he does what is asked of him, and it does keep you guessing whether the guy is insane or not, or is he part of the whole, you know, process of turning him into an action star. It just didn't necessarily overly impress me, John Travolta's performance, I think it's fair to say. Although at times it is fairly entertaining. He does portray that unhinged character quite well. And then beyond that, you get like cameos from Jean Reno and Josh Hartnett. And we obviously get Nathalie Emmanuel, who is also at this action star school with Kevin Hart. And that's it. It's just like, that's the premise. Turn him into an action star. But basically, it's like Kevin Hart being tortured. You know, not trusting the Ron Wilcox character, whether there's blanks in the gun, you know, whether he's trying to set him on fire, all this kind of stuff. And it's not interesting to stretch out over a movie. I'm not even sure it would have been interesting as a comedy show. But I suspect maybe, I don't know how long those episodes were, like 25 minutes at a time. It's more easy to digest, I guess, maybe 20 minutes at a time, no idea. This kind of loses its luster fairly quickly in regards to a premise. And it's just not... You could forgive a film like this if it had been like, you know, achingly funny or something like that, and he's just not really. And it feels like I say, it feels quite claustrophobic. There's very few characters in this. It's just, for the most part, John Travolta, Kevin Hart, and Natalie Emmanuel. That's it for the most part, with occasional pop-ups of other characters, and it's just. And then you get to the final episode, and it gets a little bit more actiony. So it's. I can only say I was disappointed with this, because I do think the premise here is a fairly solid one. It could have worked, but I'm getting to the point now where I want to see more from Kevin Hart. I've seen his potential. I've seen what he's capable of, and I just think we can get more from Kevin Hart. And this feels like a lazy attempt to turn like a fairly unsuccessful TV show into a full-length movie. And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure why they've chosen to do it, because from my understanding from checking out the TV show, that wasn't particularly highly rated, and this is looking like it's getting even less in regards to ratings. So I don't necessarily see the point why they've done it. All I will say is, if you're a fan of Kevin Hart, you'll probably enjoy moments in this. The rest of us, I think, we can only really say that we're disappointed with it, and it feels like an oddity. When you watch it, you know, it feels like the production values are really cheap for the most part, and it feels like it's been kind of thrown together as a feature, so it doesn't feel like you're watching like a genuine film. It's a bit unbalanced and it's a bit off-putting when you're watching it, but I don't know. You guys might really enjoy it. I don't think it's horrifically bad or anything. I think it's about average, but as a Kevin Hart fan, and I certainly do enjoy watching him on screen because I think he's genuinely funny, this was definitely for me a disappointment. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more content on the channel very soon.